Chiu.
Yes.
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Marco. How are you
Nice to
doing?
meet you.
Good. Nice to meet you
Nice
too.
to meet you.
You want something to drink?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Really?
Yeah.
Nothing?
Yeah, nothing. I'm good.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
So for photography, it's a medium for me to explore the natural world and kind of understand how different things behave the way they do. In my secondary school, they have this nature trail at the back of the school. And so every lunchtime after school, I would go there with a friend and we'd just go look for things and just trying to okay, so this is, because the goal back then was to kind of show the school, okay, this is what we have. We saw some mantises, lots of moths, butterflies, even snakes on occasion. And that was our main goal. And then it kind of helps. It kind of worked in the end because there was a teacher that was really interested in what we were doing. So we had conversation with them. We showed them these photos. And in the end, I think in about 1 or 2 years after we were doing this, they kind of stopped using these pesticides and fly traps. So just in the secondary school scale, it really helps to show other people this is this incredible biodiversity even within just a small area. It's not even the size of Longfushan, it's just one trail, and we have all these amazing things.
So, we made it inside from the hordes of mosquitoes. And now let's go into, now we can finally dive into your amazing photography. So in the first image is of this spider, where it's mostly this nice, I guess like a moss green color.
Light green color.
Yeah, very light green, moss green. And then, but what's really dramatic and where our brains go immediately is the eyes, right?
Yeah.
So for a lot of spiders, you'll see the 6 eyes, 8 eyes?
Yeah.
6 or 8?
8. It's mostly 8, but
8.
then there are different types of eye arrangements.
Right. And this one, though, what you basically notice, set in these lightly furred, really nice brown sockets, so these 2 black eyeballs. So it just looks like 2 eyes that are looking at you from this amazing spider. And now that you've explained that it's hanging from a silk thread, but in the image you can't actually see it. So it's just this incredible color with a perfect black background, and the lighting is very nice. I mean, this is a very powerful, stark image that works well as a scientific image, but it's very arresting. So why is this a successful image in your mind?
Because for jumping spiders, we usually just see them on the handrails, and most photographers, so even not just local photographers, even photographers overseas, they strive to get that money shot, which is the big portrait with the large anterior medial eyes.
Okay.
So those big eyes at the front, that's what most go for. And sometimes you can get the actions at night. And this particular time, we just saw this one spider just dangling from a single thread, just rotating in midair. And so I was like, okay, this is something that I don't think many people have seen before. Well, people have seen jumping spiders sleeping, but I don't think anyone has ever had a photograph of one sleeping like that.
Yeah.
And so what I did, so I just had the camera right in front of the spider and just waited it to rotate.
Right.
And so the door, when it gets to the dorsal, then I tried to take the shot.
Right.
And thankfully, there wasn't really much wind that night, so it was a very good environment for me to shoot this kind of behavior. And it stands out for me because it's a side of a jumping spider that we've never seen before.
Right.
It is documented and described in literature, but not too many photos of these spiders. So I wanted to bring out a different side of a spider.
Well, I think
it's a new experience. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that hits me is that it's a less of a record and more of a portrait.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, one of the things about people is that we see faces and we look into faces and we kind of connect with faces. And so now, the way this is made is you really have a portrait of a spider that most people feel recoil, kind of feel like I'm pulled away from that. And yet, how many people would you say have reached out to you because of this photo?
I haven't posted it because usually I would like share my photos on
Ah,
social media.
you tease, I love it.
I haven't. I had another photo, but then I think this one stands out more because the thing is, like, this has that symmetry
Yeah.
that later dream posts, like when I'm like editing my photos, I'm like, okay, this is something that's pretty unique.
Sure.
I've seen jumping spiders sleeping before, and I also had photos of them, but not where it's like it's a perfect symmetry in this very bright green color. So I haven't shared it with people. Well, this photo I did enter. I used this photo to enter the recent close-up photographer of the year.
Right.
Because I think that's my first main step of sharing
Nice.
this experience, because I think it's maybe telling other people that okay, there's actually more things to these spiders that can be discovered.
Well, one of the things that has come up with different guests or people I've spoken to about photography in this particular way is that we get to see things in a way that is very privileged. Like humans, we don't normally see the world like that. You really have to take a moment. I mean, in a way, it's like seeing photographs, like X-ray photographs of your body, your bones. We don't see that way, so it's even more amazing and astounding to look and see that. So what kind of camera? Let's be geeks. What kind of camera are you shooting with?
So I use an Olympus EM1 Mark II.
They're Olympuses.
I'm an Olympus guy.
I need to get them as a sponsor. Okay.
And my and I use the only good macro lens available for the brand, which is a 60mm prime lens.
I just talked about this with somebody as well.
And I use a Godox flash.
Yeah.
And the diffuser is I bought from an Australian friend who's also a macro photographer as well. And he makes these like very compact, convenient and very compact, small diffusers that I can just bring it. It's lightweight as well. The whole setup is lightweight. I gave it to I lent it to a friend. Like I was like, "You want to try and hold it?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "That's a toy. That's not a camera. Nice. It's very lightweight. I can bring it anywhere. I can shoot in a variety of environments. And I think it's quite good, especially for like when you get in these like very tricky terrains, and that's what's best to. That's the best thing I can think of. And the camera, you can't really see me during the recording, like when this comes out. But I'm a relatively skinny person, so a lightweight camera is what I need.
You probably weigh about I don't know if you understand pounds versus kilograms. You probably weigh like 25 kilograms.
Well, I think it's more than that. More than that.
You are, listen, you're still growing boy.
Yeah.
You're still growing boy. But yeah, no, for sure. It's good to have a light kit. Your photography, what's really good about it, and what's good about where we live, is that you can just go. Yeah. And everything's alive outside in a way that is, quite special. So have you done photography, or have you gone on trips and done photography in other countries specifically, or is this mostly a Hong Kong kind of?
Well, I've done photography in other countries, but that's mainly like, if I see something, I'll just take a photo of it.
Right.
But that's not like the main goal of the trip.
Right.
But during secondary school, I think it was like in S5, there was this organization that organized a trip to Madagascar.
Oh, wow.
And
what?
Yeah.
You went to Madagascar?
I went to Madagascar,
oh, shit.
So
poor thing.
It was unfortunately it was during the winter time, but we did get to see some good stuff. And that trip,
amazing.
That was like the first trip in my mind that I went with the goal just simply to photograph animals.
So many people would. I'm part of, I've definitely been exposed to the education sector. And one could argue that around the world, one of the casualties from modern education and exposure in society is that people are disconnected from the environment. And kids are disconnected from the environment. Yeah. Kids don't play as much, all that story of too much screen time and all that. You grew up in Hong Kong, and so what sort of channels led you to where you are now, that for example in high school, for whatever reason you went in that direction? So like what started drawing you to go outside to photograph animals, whereas maybe your peers were kind of like What's that all about?
My fascination for animals originally began as a kid. So my parents would buy me BBC documentaries from Sir David Attenborough.
Oh, nice.
And I would watch those as a kid. And
Nice.
they would also buy me these dinosaur books, and I would like, I would usually go to the toilet, bring a book, and then we're like reading dinosaurs, like Tyrannosaurus Rex, Velociraptor. I would read
Your
them in the toilet.
parents sound
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So they really, so at the young age, they really wanted to be like, okay, so this is the natural world, and it's kind of interesting, and we kind of want you to, you can go explore it,
Yeah.
and hopefully you find some good stuff in it.
Yeah.
But that's mainly indoor stuff, and I think the outdoor stuff came during secondary school. So I was walking. After lunch, I was taking this stroll along the nature trail, and I came across my friend who was holding mantis. I didn't know what it was at the time, so I was like, okay, what is that? And he was like, mantises, and it was a big Herodula patellifera, so giant Asian mantis.
Okay.
And
How big is big?
Big, about almost the size of my hand.
Okay, so yeah,
It's really
sizable. Yeah.
really big mantis, and I was really intrigued by it because I'd never seen one in real life. And I was like, "Do you mind if I handled it for a while?" He was like, "Sure," and he gave me the mantis, and that was my first major interaction
Okay.
with an insect.
Oh wow.
And that I was like, because the mantises, they kind of looked at me, I looked at it,
Yeah,
we kind of like locked eyes
Sure,
and stuff.
sure.
And it was a very magical experience. It was about like it was just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And we let the mantis go.
Yeah.
But it was that 5 minutes. They kind of like, okay, so they're really interesting animals, and they're really misunderstood. Because now that I've held one, I've looked at one,
Yeah.
I've handled one. They're not like this grotesque man-eating monster, perhaps
Slimy or whatever it is. Yeah.
But perhaps depicted in movies.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go out. So if this is interesting, what more could be out there
Sure.
that could match that kind of level?
Right,
And so
right.
that kind of spawned me like, okay, I'll need to find more insects, more
And
spiders,
luckily
and that.
you were up here.
Yeah.
This is an amazing place.
Yeah, and it was then I was like surprised that wow, Hong Kong, just this small trail is not representative of Hong Kong.
Unbelievable.
But I see that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just I've seen more things in 1 year. It wasn't in 1 year. It was about like 9 months. I've seen more things in 9 months that I've seen in around 13 to 14 years of my life.
Yeah.
And it's extraordinary.
Right.
And so that kind of sparked me and gave me that kind of motivation to
Right.
go out more and look for these different kinds of animals.
No, for sure. And I love that however you're made, whatever chemistry or pressures or impulses, whatever that are swirling inside you, put your attention and your brain to be like, I want to look at these animals and help people see them. I find that really, really impressive. In this photograph, it's photographed at night. When you make a photograph at night with a diffused light, for those people who don't know photography, when you're using a diffused flash, which is a very strong light source, as you get farther away from that flash, the light decreases proportionally. And what that means is that when you make a photograph of a subject that's close, the background becomes very dark pretty quickly. So in this case, I'd say a third of the photograph is, this is almost like a comical image. Comical in the sense that it's almost funny, almost sweet. So it's of a spider, highly unusual looking spider. The shell is this, lemon yellow shell, and it's got these black polka dots on it. And the spider's body, the legs, part of its body obviously, like the head and the legs and everything else, are this shiny, almost wet looking brownish color. And although in the other photograph the spider's eyes were rather pronounced and large, this one has these teeny tiny dark brown eyes. The configuration are like basically two on top of each other, so it's like a small little. Maybe I'm going to make myself sound like an idiot here, but yeah. So and kind of emanating from the center of the spider is this one perfect strand or thread of spider silk leading up, and it's on the web, so you can see that it's standing on a web, but what's really in focus is this one thread of silk, and this beautiful, like lemon yellow shell. So what's the species and what's the story of this photo?
So this
fantastic photo, by the way.
Thank you. So this is a ladybird mimic spider.
Okay.
So this, if those who want to know, the scientific name is Paraplextana. I think this para P-A-R-A plec P-L-E-C Tana.
Tana. Okay.
T-A-T-A-N-A.
Okay.
So it's a uncommon spider in Hong Kong,
Yeah.
but it was at this one location where we found many.
Oh wow.
And so it was quite surprising because usually there aren't many records of it in Hong Kong, but it was like this one place where I think the most I've seen is around 5
Okay.
in one night.
Wow.
And so it was really an extraordinary experience, and this one
Sure.
in particular, because usually I would see them resting on the leaves,
Okay.
and this one actually finished its web, and I don't think many people have photographs of the web of a ladybird mimic spider before. So this one, the web was, the lines were really spaced out.
Yeah.
So it's not like those really tightly, the lines are really tight
Yeah.
and compact like the golden orb weaver. It's very loose, very spaced out, and it was hanging below the web instead of like on a vertical face.
Okay.
So it was hanging below and dragging the web down a little bit.
Okay.
And I wanted to because I photographed these before, but then I was like, okay, this is the side of the spider a side of the spider that I haven't seen before.
Sure.
And so this was actually tricky because it was hanging upside down, and I couldn't because my fusee, while it's small, it's still a bit big. I don't want to damage the
Yeah,
web
yeah.
if I
You
show
have to
it
be very
front
careful,
face.
yeah.
So what I did is actually I flipped the camera upside down.
Yeah.
So the bottom of the camera was facing up,
Yeah.
and I was shooting like that.
Right,
The
right,
diffuser
right.
was down, was at the
Okay,
bottom,
okay,
and I was
okay.
shooting like that.
Yeah, you can see that the light is actually coming from below. Now that you explain it, you're using your hands a lot to describe your shooting process.
Yeah.
So you're not using a tripod.
No, all my shots are handheld.
All handheld. Okay.
Yeah.
So roughly, how big? Now you called it it's like a ladybird.
A ladybird mimic, yeah.
Okay, so if you're from North America, that's ladybug.
Yeah, ladybug.
Instead of black and red, this one's bright. I mean, it really looks like in the
Yeah.
photograph at least, it looks like half a lemon. It's just this perfect yellow. So how big is it?
So it's not too big. I think you could fit it on the tip of
Use
my middle
fruit.
finger.
You,
fruit.
you obviously aren't
Yeah.
a father. Are you a
Yeah.
father? Do
I'm
you have
not.
a child somewhere?
No.
Really?
No.
Admit it on the podcast, and
No.
then the world will know that you have
No,
some
I don't.
father and a child somewhere. No, when you get somebody pregnant, usually when they're talking about, and then this is almost a quasi-scientific sort of reference, that usually when you're referencing the size of the embryo, they're always using fruit. Like right now, your embryo is the size of a plum, and right now it's the size of a grapefruit. It's really strange. So, if you think of a fruit, what kind of fruit? How large would this be vis-a-vis a fruit?
Vis-a-vis a fruit.
Blueberry or smaller?
Slightly smaller than a blueberry.
Wow! Yeah, tiny.
Yeah. In this family, in the orb weaver family, it's relatively smaller, but like we've discussed before, it's got this very unique pattern that because it's mimicking ladybirds and ladybugs from the US.
Yeah.
So it's one that stands out from the family and one spider that I really enjoyed encountering.
What's the benefit of mimicking a ladybird?
So ladybirds or ladybugs, they actually secrete this foul smell
Okay.
as a defense.
Oh, okay.
And so spiders have learned to spiders mimic many different things.
Sure.
So in this case, mimicking a ladybird.
Yeah.
Ladybirds are a bit of a toxic, and many predators would tend to avoid
Right.
it. So mimicking a ladybird with this bright color, what we call aposematic coloration or warning colors. So with this bright coloration, and it knows what it's mimicking. It's not like, okay, I'm just going to blindly mimic something
Right.
and not know what I'm mimicking. Through evolution, it knows what it's mimicking.
Yeah, yeah.
And then predators have, when they've encountered ladybirds before, they'll see the spider. They'll be like, okay, this is something I've encountered before.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave it alone.
Exactly.
And then the spider itself gets out of harm's way
Sure.
and it's safe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a defense strategy
Right.
for the spider.
Nice. What do they predate? Like, what do they eat?
Small insects.
Okay.
That night, I think there was a lot of flying termites.
Okay.
Lots of flying termites.
Right.
So that could be
Because
the main
when you
source of food.
describe the web having the large spacing,
Yeah.
I would imagine that smaller insects wouldn't be caught as much as something like a flying termite would be
Yeah.
perfect because its wings
Yeah.
are just so.
Yeah, or moths as well.
Right.
Moths, there's a lot of moths at night.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's about it. But then, like you said, it's quite weird because the lines are very spaced out. It's not like we usually see in other weaving spiders. So it's kind of like a thought in my mind. So why? I haven't found the answer yet, but the thought is, why are they more spaced out? So
Sure.
what could be the benefit
Yeah.
having such spaced out lines?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even it's not a vertical web. It's a horizontal web.
Oh wow. Okay,
Yes. So I was like,
okay.
so why create this horizontal web where most of the other guys in the family are creating these vertical webs that cover
Interesting.
large expanses of area? So that's
Right.
something to think. That's something worth thinking about.
Yes. Somebody may even know the answer, and they may even contact me, and I'll pass it on to you. But no, it's awesome. The photograph is fantastic. Let's
And
move
also,
on. Go
I would
ahead.
like to raise an issue.
Sure.
Raise an issue because I photographed many different spiders, but why one chose this and wanted to just use this platform to kind of raise awareness?
Yeah, why?
is that-
Yeah, you know what? You
is that-
suggest the question I should be asking.
Yeah.
Because
So-
everybody's just like, you're a terrible.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible interviewer.
Yeah.
But you go ahead. So,
Yeah,
what is the question I should have asked?
So, this spider, like I said, is uncommon, and so when people found out that okay, this spider is in Hong Kong and it's in this one location, I think mainly people found out during the City Nature Challenge,
Yeah.
and people uploaded on Naturalist or on Facebook. They'll be like, "Oh, wow, there's a spider." But what happened later in the days is that I've seen doctored photos, kind of like so. So what happened? Because for those who haven't seen the spider up close, there's only a few places that I would see the spider. It's either under a leaf, resting, or on a web like that. But when I look at those photos, they're on this reflexive surface where they kind of got the reflection underneath.
Okay.
And usually, so when I saw those photos, immediately I was like, "That's fake," because I've
Okay.
seen what this spider has been doing.
Oh,
There's
okay.
no way that spider could be in an environment like that.
Okay.
And so I did a bit of asking around because I wanted to I don't want to accuse people of something.
Sure.
So I did a bit of digging, asking people around, and in the end, the answer I got was the guy I think was photographing the spider on a table.
Mm-hmm.
And the other photographer kind of he thought that it was okay to do so, and then he kind of went in. And I've even heard stories. I think Robert Ferguson. You know him? Yeah. I think we were chatting as well, and then he was he's seen people with hunting, capturing material
Right.
in the area
Yeah.
where the spiders are.
Yeah.
And spiders mainly many people don't think it's much. So feel free to go capture and just photograph. But with spiders like this, that when they actually are at night, they're out hunting, and since they're not active hunters, they just wait there. And once you take that away, and you don't put them back, it's going to disrupt their life cycle, their life activities. And when they don't eat, they might
Potentially
die.
kill them.
Yeah. And so I was really pissed off by those photos.
Right.
And when people think that okay, spiders might be hard to shoot, I'm gonna have to do some for example, just these spiders, they might be hard to shoot.
Yeah.
I'll be like, you can just photograph them like this.
Well, it's one of those funny things that it's kind of it was really hard to get the photo of the spider. So then what I did was I grabbed it and I put it in a place so it was easier.
Yeah.
I said, wait a second, if it's hard, that's part of the challenge.
Yeah.
So you solve that problem. Don't potentially kill this poor animal because, and I'm sure there's some people who are going to be like, oh, this poor animal, you're just wanking about a spider. But, on the principle of it, I'm behind you.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'll do a bit of a confession here. So, for example, for jumping, confession.
Oh, this is getting
and listeners might hate me for doing so. No, serious. No, this I'm actually being, they can hate me for this. So, for jumping spiders, 'cause usually I see them on handrails.
Yeah.
And my perception is okay. So I don't want them to be in this because the handrail, the background is kind of drab. So sometimes for jumping spiders, I will coax them onto a leaf gently, and then photograph them for a while and then put them back.
Right.
Now, when I do this, because jumping spiders are active hunters, so if I do this, it doesn't really hurt them in any way.
Yeah.
I'm just transferring them to a controlled environment that doesn't really disrupt them, and then just put them back as nothing happened.
Yeah.
But no, because I think this is generally an okay practice. If listeners they want to disagree with me, feel free to do so.
Right.
But generally, I don't see this doing too much harm to the spider.
Right.
But when it's a web building spider like this, it really hurts them in a way.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've even heard people taking them back home.
Okay.
I think, and I don't really want to see people doing that because it's just for photography.
Yeah.
And taking them away is just bad for the environment. And when one does it, another one follows, and you've got this bad trend of people capturing spiders and doing it back home. And I generally don't want to see that happen.
Well, on the principle of it too. So, for example, I think some people might do the same thing with a bamboo snake.
Yeah.
Right. So they'll pick up a bamboo snake, take it home, whatever, and then return it to the same spot in principle. But even then, it's like you've just removed it out of its already. Life is hard enough.
Yeah.
As far as these animals are concerned,
Yeah.
they're in a really difficult survival situation, and some of the research has shown that even if you relocate a bamboo snake by 100 meters or 200 meters, whatever, that alone can potentially kill them. So.
And when you bring them back home, there's like an environmental difference. The temperature is different, the humidity is different, and that could already that already hurts the snake in a way.
Yeah. So I'm with you. What is your feeling towards the human species as a steward of the environment?
So
you can swear.
Yeah, I can swear. well, okay. So there were times where I felt like, come on, we can do better than that.
Okay.
Or like we've been destroying this. Well, not destroying. We've been hurting the environment for not centuries, but for decades.
Some people would say destroying for centuries.
Yeah, for centuries. Yeah. But I think, and some people, I see comments on YouTube when you see these kind of like poaching or like these unethical practices. They'll be like, "Fuck humans." They're shit.
Yeah.
We should go extinct. Like, I try not to not be that negative. Well, there's still some good sides to some good sides to us. So, like, for example, we can see this progression of awareness in terms of environmental protection. There's more work being done. There's more research being done, and there's more education being done about the environment. And that's what's good. What's good about humans is that we can communicate effectively.
Yeah.
And these messages, for example, photos to different medias, we kind of promote this, not belief, I would say, this message that, okay, there's something worth protecting.
Sure.
And we're doing good things.
Yeah.
And more people are receiving the message, and that's what I like to see, is that people coming together and kind of like having a common goal of like, okay, this is something we need to protect, we need to safeguard, because it is precious.
Yeah.
And so while I will acknowledge that we have been crap over the years, some of the actions that we've been doing are crap, at the same time I will also like to acknowledge the good things that we do.
No, for sure. Yeah, and I agree with you 1,000 trillion%, for sure. What I love about your images is that some people create images that are kind of busy, and in a way the crowd is impressive, right? So for example, a flock of snow geese, where you have 10,000 snow geese.
Yeah.
It's that mass that is so amazing. And yet it is true that, zooming in, not even zooming, just getting in close to how far away was your lens from the spider when you made a photograph of this one?
We're just a few centimeters away.
Yeah. Like you're super close, macro, and what's amazing is that we get to see a part of the world that was always there.
Yeah.
And people just walk by it.
It's something that we don't notice on a daily basis.
But it was always there, just waiting for you to come along, and and then you were there and you got it.
Yeah.
Well, so thank you. Aha!
Finally, a snake.
Why no? Great. Okay, so this image is totally, it's a little different in that this was probably photographed in daylight.
Nope, at night.
At night as well.
Night,
But because of the diffused light, it could easily, the exposure could have been day.
Yeah.
But maybe this is a snake that would never be in this position at night, in daylight. Yeah. Anyways. So what kind of snake is this?
So this is a mountain pit viper.
Mountain pit viper.
So there are three different pit vipers in Hong Kong.
Okay.
Well, the one we usually see is the bamboo pit viper or the white-lipped pit viper, and then the one that's a bit of a mystery in Hong Kong because nobody knows how it got here. People are still discussing whether it is a native species or an introduced species, which is the point-scale pit viper that can only be found in a handful of locations in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And the last one, which is a more secretive snake, that what makes it different from other pit vipers is that it only comes out during the winter. It only breeds during the winter.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
that's surprising.
So
okay.
So usually people don't associate herping, or herping means just going out looking for reptiles and amphibians. So people don't usually associate herping with winter. But in this case, I went out during Chinese New Year. I think I went out after my exams in first semester. So that was about like mid-December. So I went out a few times wanting to look for this snake because it is one of the things I wanted to see
Right.
for myself this year. And I went for a few trips, didn't find it, and I think for this one it was during Chinese New Year. So me and a friend, just two friends walking along the mountain.
So that's about February.
Yeah, around mid-February, yeah. And at that time, I think we would. Some people were saying, "Oh, the season's about to end" and stuff like that. And so I was hoping to see the snake, but then my hopes went as high as than I were in December. So we went about like 7 or 8. And we kept looking. We checked out streams. We checked out all those mountain paths, and no snake. And it was about like 12 o'clock. So my dad was waiting for me at the top of the mountain.
Okay.
So because he was like driving his car up to get us, and I told him like, okay, I have a hunch. It was around like 12 at that time, and usually my parents would kill me if I stayed too late.
Right.
But I was like, just hear me out. I have a hunch.
Okay.
Let's just go back to the stream one more time, and check.
Okay.
So we went, and at first I was a bit like, because there was like a dead turtle. Like, I think it was a dead reddish slider.
Okay.
Near the stream. I was looking at that. We were looking at that, and then I turned my head around, checked behind a rock, and there it was.
Oh wow.
Just there. It was about like 60 centimeters. So by a mountain pit viper, this is a very good size.
Which hill?
It was somewhere near Taimoshan.
Taimoshan. So
Yeah.
Taimoshan is the tallest hill, the tallest elevation in Hong Kong, and if this is February, it's quite cold.
Yeah, it's very cold.
And at midnight.
Yeah.
So how does the snake maintain its body temperature?
So I think they usually just absorb heat during the day.
Right.
Because they're cold-blooded animals.
Sure.
Yeah, I think they just absorb heat during the day like most other reptiles.
Right.
And then they kind of use it during the night when there's no sunlight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you made this photograph. Was
Yeah.
it hunting? Was it just, in this case, would you say it's pregnant? It looks very full.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's very big.
Yeah.
It's a female, but so usually if a snake is that size, usually about 60 centimeters long,
Yeah.
I think that's the female size,
Sure.
the female size snake. I think it was hunting. It wasn't moving. It was just like this on the. We didn't move the snake.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
So it was, as you can see in the photo,
Yeah.
just like that on the side of the rock.
Right.
And then we were like so pumped. It's like, yes, this
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
we've been looking for. The stroke of midnight, Chinese New Year luck.
I
This
love it.
is what we've been looking for all these days.
That's great.
And yeah, we just spent because it was getting a bit late, so we
Yeah.
were rushing to photograph the
Sure.
snake.
So let me describe the image now. So the about one half of the image on the left is you see the kind of the rough texture of a boulder or rock, and then there's a bit of leaf litter on the ground. It's very dark brown.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure enough, this is a winter kind of foliage on the ground. And from the top of the photo, it's a kind of leaning, kind of curving like an S down to the bottom left of the image. So in terms of the composition, the tail end, which you can't see, is sort of outside of the frame of the photograph. And as you go down, as your eye goes down the frame and follows this curve of the snake, and it's modeled not striped like the orange and black of a spider of a tiger, but it's kind of like, it's still like orange and dark brown, like this kind of weird camouflage. And the head, I mean, you could see the eye, like you really kind of have to look for it, but the eye is this. It's like a cat eye style shape. So the iris is this one, a little bit like Sauron in the yeah. And so it's got, and the head is this beautiful brown and cream and orange.
Yeah.
So it's perfectly camouflaged. And so, do you know what it normally feeds on? Or?
Frogs, toads, some
Frog-
mice even.
Okay.
Sometimes I've seen some mice up on Taimoshan. I think
Okay.
there was one trip where we saw like 5 mice
Okay.
on the mountain, and we were like, okay, the prey item's out. Hopefully the snake's gonna be
Sure.
out. But then at that time, no, unfortunately. But there was this one night, I think it would finish raining like a day before,
Right.
and the next day we went, totally perfect weather, a little bit of rain, a little bit of a drizzle, but not
Yeah.
too much, and then bang, there was
Perfect.
a snake. Yeah.
Wow. Does it give birth to live young eggs?
I think eggs.
Eggs.
Eggs, yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add about this? Is it a protected species?
No, it's not a protected species. I think Hong Kong, so far the one I know is the Burmese python.
Okay.
There might be more, but I'm not too sure.
Right.
But this snake was inside. It was like, in terms of snakes, I've seen snakes before, but this was by far the most majestic snake.
It's special. Like,
Yeah, it's a very special encounter.
Sure, for
And
sure.
it was very exhilarating, but I was nervous at the same time because
Okay.
I've been wanting to see this snake for a long time.
Right.
And as I was photographing, it kind of like strike. It kind of tried to strike
A
me
bite strike?
twice.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it kind of lunged at me 2 times.
Okay.
So my friend was like, "Dude, I'm not gonna pay for your hospital fees, and don't scare me like that." So actually, this photo was a bit of a large crop
Yeah.
because I was shooting with a bit of like a fisheye lens,
okay.
and I didn't because after the first strike, I was like, "Okay, let me try not to get too close."
Sure.
And so I shot it a bit far away. I had my friend hold the light a bit closer so I can get like
Right.
bit more light, or else it'll be like really dark. The brown wouldn't be as bright
Sure.
as shown in the photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And-
such a beautiful animal.
Yeah, and when I was like editing this photo, I'm like, okay, so the snake wasn't moving, but I wanted to like, I kind of want the photo to kind of depict movement,
Yeah.
because usually you aren't to see vipers coiled up
Right.
at night, and this one is it was the most moving
Yeah.
moving way I could
Okay.
ever. So yeah, I kind of like cropped it with the head down below.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, so the snake is actually this.
Well,
so,
it's-
and I wanted to pick the length as well. So this
Sure.
really was a big snake.
Sure. These are all aesthetic choices
Yeah.
that you're making to heighten the impression.
Yeah.
So it gives me a sense of, you have one part of your personality, which is the scientific part, the ecological part, which is about documentation.
Yeah.
And one part of your personality or whatever, psyche, is to understand the communicative power of having a strong image.
Yeah.
So you definitely present it in a way that is, I think anybody who sees this is going to be like, that's a full-on snake.
Yeah, that's a big snake.
Yeah. No, it's great. Let's move on, shall we?
Sure.
Now, you happen to have included my favorite insect in Hong Kong.
Oh.
To me, this is the most beautiful insect that I can think of. It is possibly amazing insect. So,
Yeah.
first of all, it's called the lantern beetle.
Lanternfly. It's not.
it's lanternfly?
It's technically not a beetle.
I know,
It's not a fly. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just describe the image. It's this fantastic close-up at night
Yeah.
of this insect on a tree. Do they tend to congregate on the same tree?
Yeah. Usually.
Okay.
Or they sometimes move around, but
Right.
usually I was like right now. I think 1 or 2 months ago was the best season.
Right.
And so I think the most I've seen like 7 on one tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So in the photograph, you actually see 2 flies at the bottom right.
ants, actually ants.
Ants, sorry,
Yeah,
ants,
yeah.
ants, sorry. And then so you've got the tree, the trunk is just as solid on the right side of the image, and the insect is holding on to this tree. Its legs are like the foot, and say the first sort of part of its leg is this dark, almost ash gray color, and then the foot becomes reddish, and then the wings are this incredible green with yellow and white like polka dot splotches. The eye is this large, like relatively large eye, and then pulling way out away from its head is this incredible, impossible horn, red with these white polka dot things on it. It's the most beautiful insect. It's amazing. Why don't you walk us through?
So this image actually is more than meets the eye. So there's
Okay.
actually more going on in this pic than
Right,
people
great.
realize. So I'll let you have a guess. What do you think is happening in this image?
An accountant is taking your company to litigation. I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah. So lanternflies people usually see in Hong Kong, and you usually see them during the daytime, and they're just resting on leaves. And again, my photography, I think the theme of my photography is mainly to show something that people don't really usually
Something
see.
different. Yeah.
And people, it's most like I will see like this picture of a lanternfly just there on a tree, something
Sure.
like that.
Yeah.
But on this night, there were 2 ants next to the lanternfly.
Yeah.
And so what's actually happening is that the ants are actually waiting for the lanternfly to excrete.
Oh,
So what happens is that lanternfly excrete this fluid, I think commonly known as honeydew.
Oh, okay.
And so these are actually sugar ants. And so they will the interaction is that they will wait behind the lanternfly,
Okay.
and when they excrete, they will get this fresh drink.
Ah.
And
So to put it in the vernacular,
yeah,
this insect eats the sap off this tree,
Yeah.
shits out whatever it
Yeah.
shits, and these honey ants, which
Yeah.
like to eat its shit, go and find it,
yeah,
and eat it.
Yeah,
High in fiber and other juices.
and sugar. Yeah,
And sugar.
Yeah.
Okay, no, amazing.
We can't actually see the lanternfly excreting, but they were like neighboring. So okay, let me just document this kind of interaction.
I'm really happy you said that, because now when I see them, I'll definitely understand that behavior better. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And actually, it's not just ants. I think geckos
Okay.
in other countries have, in Thailand, I think, or Malaysia, they've been documented to actually wait behind lanternfly.
Okay.
And just lick the honeydew as it excretes.
Interesting, because I saw a gecko here behind a lantern beetle, and maybe that's what it was doing.
Or maybe it was trying to eat it.
Maybe so. Yeah, so they'll also predate.
Yeah, they'll also
on the
predate.
Got it. Wow. Okay.
But again, this was photographed at night, so this was next to a catchwater. It was
Yeah.
like on this one tree, and these ants are like buzzing around, not like walking around
Crawling around, yeah.
the lanternfly, just waiting for its excrement.
Right. Amazing.
And it's not the perfect photo, like because the background you'll see is like the leaves kind of like in the background. It's not the
Maybe,
I
but
don't
in
know.
a way, like if this was all black, okay,
Yeah.
so in the background, or so like the sort of the out of focus black, there's 1/3 of it is all black, and 1/3 is this leaf that's partially exposed, out of focus, but it does give it depth,
Yeah.
as well. So it's maybe not as dramatic, but it's also, it's still a powerful image in my books.
The thing is, like these small. I think nature isn't just about like because for the first few animals, we just see this one animal
Yeah.
in the photo doing its own thing.
Yeah.
But I think photography sometimes can be more of that. I think what you said before, the large flock of birds, but when you have more animals interacting, it creates this like movement and
Sure.
it shows you like this wholesomeness of nature where everything's connected.
Yeah.
This is, I think, is one of the few images I've taken that kind of shows that kind of interaction, because
Okay.
usually I would just see this one animal sitting there or just walking there.
Right.
But this is a very unique chance to shoot this interaction and explain to people that okay, so lanternflies are actually also associated with ants,
Right,
sometimes
right,
even
right.
geckos as well. And so I would like to again, it's showing a different side of a lanternfly.
That's
That,
wicked.
and I think this was shot at night. I don't know if you can see this kind of these sugar ants around the ant during the
Okay,
day. I've never
okay.
seen them during the day, but yeah, I think what's fascinating about shooting at night is that during the day we'll see these very active butterflies, we'll see many different things, or
Yeah.
just like even nocturnal animals resting, and that's our perception. So that's many people's perception that okay, this is what nature is. But when you shoot at night, it's a whole different landscape.
Sure.
The roles are reversed. The nocturnal animals become active, and diurnal animals they go to rest.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is this kind of like day and night difference that I
Yeah.
want to show. I sometimes shoot during the day as well,
Right.
but it's at night that I find, because at night it's quiet, there's no people,
Yeah.
you just get the sound of crickets in nature.
It's also it's like photographically, it's like
Yeah.
an easy way of separating your subject from, like, of isolating that subject.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, for example, with this lanternfly, at night I use a flash and it kind of makes the colors more stand out.
Okay,
And so
yeah.
I just want to make like the lanternfly more like being like the center of the image.
Sure.
Yeah.
Marco, one of the amazing things that I also know about you is
Mm-hmm.
that you run these nature walks.
Yeah.
So how about we wrap it up in a way so that people understand that all of this is out there anyways. So
Yeah.
what got you to think, well, maybe, you know what, I'm going to start organizing these nature walks to share.
So these nature walks are co-organized with Encompass. So I met Benita. I met her for a talk on insects. And after the talk, and we were discussing it, and she was like, okay, maybe we could organize something like this in Hong Kong and kind of like get people into this nocturnal walk thing. Because, yeah, like we've discussed before, nighttime brings out creatures that you don't really see during the day. And so my mindset was, I like doing night walks on my own with my friends, just a few, because usually my mindset for night walks is just a small group of people, and we'll just go there on our own and just look for things for long expanses of time. But when the opportunity came out, I was thinking maybe I could share what I know with other people. So because night walks are generally more challenging, it's a little bit more difficult for navigation, and people generally don't know where to go when it goes to night walks. So I wanted to not only share my experience, but to like show these people that this is what's in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
This is literally what's under your nose.
Yeah.
And we've organized quite a lot. We started around like last year after my public exams finished during the summer, and we've been doing a few more this year. And so far, it's been quite good. The response has been quite good. People generally enjoy it.
Sure.
And the good thing about those night walks is that they also help out with the search. So it's not just me leading them around a trail and showing them, pointing at them, this is this, this is this, this is that. So they're actually also engaging with along the tour, and they'll look for things, and they're asking me, okay, what's this? And I'll go up to them, explain it to them.
That many more eyes to find.
Yeah. And we've seen some pretty amazing stuff.
So how old are you?
I'm 18.
18 years old. I mean, I love that you're the kind of weirdo who does this.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's totally great.
I'm the only one in my phone who does it, and people call me weird. I can share a little bit of a story. So for those who have my Instagram, it's that B guy.
So what?
It's that B guy.
That B guy.
That B guy. But when you look at just these photos I'm showing, there's no B's.
B's.
So what happened was, I think during S3, so there was lots of bees and wasps flying into the classroom for some reason, and then my other classmates were like really scared and something, and then I was shouting at them, because back then I was still a bit like self-centered at that time.
Okay.
And I was shouting at them, like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
It's just a bee.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
why are you scared? Yeah. And then I think they got annoyed of me saying it's just a bee, and then they kind of like made fun of it. It's not that they made fun of it, but they kept like bringing it back up.
Yeah.
And that was how like the bee guy thing came to be.
Right.
So I like bees, I like wasps, but I generally like spiders more.
Sure,
and I think I got messaged by people from Australia, from the UK, saying that you're scamming people. You don't have lots of bee photos. You don't have lots of wasp photos. Yeah, it was legit. Legit, the words they told me. Why are you scamming people? And I had to explain to them this story. But I think I'm the only one in my form. I had me and another friend, but he went to the UK. So to the end of secondary school, in my year, I'm the only one that goes out actively and looks for these animals.
Sure.
Like, there are people that go to hike, but then I think I'm the only one that goes to look for animals like this.
Right.
And I think before people call me weird, and like, why are you looking at this bug?
Right.
What's so special about this bug? So I'm okay being called weird. I think I like being different, just marching to the beat of a different drum.
Sure.
And what I like about this is that I can just be me. I don't have to be someone. I can just do what I want and be who I want.
Of course, 100%. I think it's an age thing as well, in which your peers, as much as you, are trying to identify and articulate your identity and where you fit within the group and all this stuff. And so for them, they'll put the label, you're the B guy.
Well, they call me the insect guy.
Or the insect
guy,
guy, whatever it is. And then I just think just keep going. I think it's great because obviously what's amazing is that like within the community of just the photographers that I've seen, I talk about your photographs to other people. Different ages, different whatever backgrounds, and people understand or recognize your name and recognize you by your dedication, whatever. And so, in a way, it's that emerges for you. So screw your friends.
No! Don't screw them. Going back to the class.
Let me assassinate your character.
I think if they listen to progress, or if they listen to this, like Marco, what the fuck?
No. We're just having a funny conversation.
And speaking of my classmates, I think in the end, later on in the years, they kind of also got they got curious. So I see that sometimes they don't really like hate to. They don't
project that much hate towards an insect.
Right.
So they'll just tell me, it's like, what's that? And then they'll just they'll be like telling me like, wait, we found a spider in the stairwell.
Nice.
And I think, but they kind of like understand like, okay, so this is something that he can deal with. He can go deal with it. But then they don't hate them that much.
Yeah.
I think generally they hate like these like creepy crawlies.
Sure.
But I can see more curiosity
Right.
in them, and I think that's what made me happy in the end.
Of course.
Yeah, because all these photography, all those posting on the social media, and actually worked a bit.
Sure.
Even in the school, they kind of worked a bit. After I graduated, I think my English teacher, he kind of texted me spiders, and they were like, okay, wait, what is this? We got this in school and stuff like that.
Nice.
And I don't know if I changed the perception of the whole school,
Right.
but at least for some people,
Well,
they've
within the
changed.
circle of friends that you can influence,
Yeah.
you've just brought in a little bit more understanding, and like, who would think that's a bad thing?
Yeah.
We met because my wife said, I think I just signed us up for this nighttime walk to go out to check out some insects. A lot of people seem to be going for it, so it sounds really good. And I heard this guy on RTHK. Were you on RTHK as well?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, she had just heard you on RTHK, and she said, I think you should talk to him. And I was like, okay. And I'd seen your name a bunch in the posts, and here we are.
Yeah.
So you know what? You're doing great work.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, there's so much more to be done in Hong Kong.
Of course.
And in terms of photography, I think Daphne's group is doing a great job. I admire them a lot.
Yeah.
So their photography, their approach, their motto, and what they've been doing is really good.
Yeah.
And I really strive to be at the level that they are.
Well, do you do martial arts?
No. Look at me. I can't do martial arts. I'm more like a training dummy.
Okay, you know what? But you know, Kung Fu is, so Kung Fu is just a practice.
Yeah.
It's like, so the practice, the Kung Fu of photography is just, you just keep getting better the more you do, right? So that's how, I love the fact that you've really been a serious photographer for, you said, 3 years, right? Which is astounding. I really appreciate your work. I appreciate the effort, and I'm going to see you not this weekend, maybe in 2 weekends.
Yeah, in 2 weekends. Yeah.
Wicked. Give me an elbow.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Wicked.
Guys.
Thank you.
It's been awesome.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.